All right, fifth graders, this is our electronic math chat number 8. Again, we're revisiting volume, and we've been exploring on how to identify volume, how to identify the volume of two or more irregular, non-overlapping right rectangular prisms. We've worked on identifying volume when just given area and the height. We've identified the different side lengths when given two side lengths and the overall volume. We've done a lot of exploring with volume. And today we're going to be diving into volume a little deeper again, involving word problems. Now, word problems I know always seem scary, they always seem overwhelming. Just remember my 2 tips. Circle all the numbers and underline what it's asking you to do. Now, in this case, we can't really circle and underline because we're working on a computer. So I'm going to identify the different numbers and the directions with different colors of font to help it stick out in our brains a little better. So you're going to be doing 4 problems on your own on this math chat. I am doing 4 problems. I've already done 4 problems, and then I've uploaded my work onto this document. I'm going to explain it to you, and then your work is on the same document towards the bottom. So you'll have my examples to work off of as you guys answer these questions that I've given to you. But before we get started, I want to read our I can statement and our success criteria. So our I can statement is, I can solve word problems involving the volume of rectangular prisms with whole number side lengths. So that means we're not dealing with decimals, we're not dealing with fractions, we're dealing strictly with whole numbers here. You are successful when you can identify 3 different dimensions that all have the same volume. So you're going to be having to identify 3 different dimensions that all come up with the same volume, and like 3 different size boxes basically that all have the same volume with different lengths, widths, and height. So getting started, I'm going to show you my example in work. Our work here is going to be about a guy named Jeffrey, and I did not come up with his spelling. That was the spelling of his name on my teacher material. But we have Jeffrey is creating rectangular planters for his plants. So he's creating like flower boxes or plant boxes for his plants. And the first question that we have is, Jeffrey's first planter is 8 feet long and 2 feet wide. The container is filled with soil to a height of 3 feet in the planter. What is the volume of soil in the planter? Explain your work using a diagram. Before we even get started, I'm going to have us identify the numbers and what the question wants us to solve with different colored fonts, since we're working on a computer here. So, I'm going to 8 feet long, I'm going to make that the color red so it stands out for me. 2 feet wide, I'm going to have it red. And 3 feet, I'm going to have that in red also. And then when it says what it wants me to do, it's wanting me to figure out what the volume of the soil in the planter is. And I'm going to make that, let's make that green. There we go. So in this problem, the information that I need to solve is jumping right out at me. I have a planter that's 8 feet long, 2 feet wide, and it has soil in it that's 3 feet tall. I need to figure out what the volume of the soil is, and then explain your work using a diagram. Before we get started, and before I tell you guys how I solved this problem, I drew this out on my own, took a picture of it, uploaded it, copied and pasted it into this Google Doc. It was a lot of work. I understand that you may not have the capabilities to do that. So if you just want to type your work out instead of actually drawing a diagram on your own problem later on at the end of this document, you are more than welcome to do that. Do not feel that you have to draw a document or draw an image, upload it, copy and paste it. I just did that so you guys can visualize what is happening in these problems, okay? So, here's my planter. I know my planter is 8 feet long and 2 feet wide. I do not need to know how tall the planter is because I'm not trying to figure out the volume of the planter. I'm trying to figure out what the volume of the soil in the planter is. And I know that the soil is 3 feet tall. So I have my formula written down right here. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay. My length is 8, my width is 2, and my height of my soil is 3. And I identified that here in my drawing. Again, we're working with just the soil. 8, 2, and 3. Well, 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48 feet cubed. So I wrote down there's 48 cubic feet of soil in the planter. Okay. Now, if I scroll down here to the second part of this problem, Jeffrey wants to grow some tomatoes in 4 large planters. He wants each planter to have a volume of 320 cubic feet. But he wants them all to be different. Show 4 different ways Jeffrey can make these planters and draw diagrams with the planter's measurements on them. That goes back up to our success criteria. I am successful when I can identify different dimensions that all have the same value. So in this case, Jeffrey wants us to have 4 large tomato planters. I'm going to make that red so it sticks out for me. He wants each planter to have a volume of 320 cubic feet, but he wants them all to be different. And I know that's not a number, but I'm going to make that red because I want to know that they all need to be different. I need to show 4 different ways Jeffrey can make these planters. That's what the question's asking me to do, so I'm going to make that blue. Okay? So, I need to come up with 4 different ways to multiply length, width, and height that will get me 32 cubic feet. Again, I went and I drew diagrams, took pictures of them, uploaded them. You do not have to do that. If you just want to type your work in right here, volume equals length times width times height with your different dimensions, you're more than welcome to do that. So I know that I want 320 feet. Well, I know off the top of my head that 4 times 8 is 32. And that 32 times 10 is going to give me 320. So my first dimension, I just started by creating a box of 4 feet tall, 10 feet wide, 10 feet long, and 8 feet wide. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 times 10 is going to be 320 feet cubed. That was just the first type of box that came to my mind that created a 320 cubic or feet cubed planter. I'm sorry, I said that completely wrong. Those are the dimensions that help me create a planter with a volume of 320 cubic feet. There we go. That sounds a lot better. The next box that I created or planter I created was I know that, okay, if I have 320 cubic feet, I'm going to take 32. That's going to be the length of a new planter. And then I need to multiply that 32 times 10 to give me 320. Well, I knew that 5 times 2 multiplied together is 10. 10 times 32 is going to give me 320 feet cubed. So here's my second planter. Again, different dimensions than my first planter, but they had the same volume of 320 cubic feet. The third one that I created, I knew that 16 times 2 is 32. Add a 0, make it 320. Well, shoot. 16 times 20 is already 320, but I need the height. Well, 320 times 1 is also going to get me 320. So I made my other planter, or my third planter, 16 feet by 20 feet by 1 foot tall. So 16 times 20 is 320 times 1 is 320 cubic feet. Again, different dimensions than my first 2 planters. My third planter, I knew that 8 times 8 was going to get me 64. And 64 times 5 was going to give me 320. Okay? So I created a box with those dimensions. A planter with those dimensions, I'm sorry. Again, all of these planters all have a volume of 320 cubic feet, but they are all different sizes. And that's where I decided to draw diagrams and upload them for you guys. Okay? Now going down to your work that I want you guys to work on. Right here I said your work. This character's name is Ren. Ren is making shadow boxes for her artwork and supplies. Ren's first display box is 6 inches long, 9 inches wide, and 4 inches high. What is the volume of the display box? Explain your work using a diagram. So in this one, all you need to do is create and identify the volume of the display box. I do not need you to draw the diagram. if you want to find a way, I'm sure you can go up here into insert, let's see, drawing, new. I'm sure you guys can, you're very tech savvy. I'm sure there's a way if you want to draw a box, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. If you just want to write down your work, you are more than welcome to do that, because this took me a lot of time, but I wanted to show you guys my thinking. You don't have to do that, okay? This is where you are now going to have to identify 3 different formulas that all have the same volume. Ren wants to put some artwork in 3 shadow boxes. She knows they all need a volume of 60 cubic inches, but she wants them all to be different. Show 3 different ways Ren can make these boxes by drawing diagrams and labeling the measurements. So I have shadow box A, B, and C. You need to come up with 3 different equations that will all give me 60 cubic inches. You cannot share dimensions between the boxes. So like up here, I didn't repeat any of the dimensions. I didn't say 32 times 5 times 2 equals 320, and then 2 times 5 times 32 is 320. All of the dimensions have to be unique. You can't repeat dimensions, okay? And instead of doing 4 like I did, you only have to come up with a total of 3. So that is your math chat for today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. When you are done, please hit turn in. It's up here by my share button. I will give you guys some feedback and return it back to you. All right, good luck and have fun.